Good evening. This workshop meeting of the Tomball ISD Board of Trustees is called to order on Monday, March 17th, 2025. Time is now 5:37 p.m. Central. For the record, a quorum of the board is present. All trustees are in attendance tonight, and I hope are rested and relaxed after what hopefully was a great spring break. I know that the staff and teachers today were in professional development, and I hope they're feeling somewhat rested and relaxed as well. The meeting is being recorded in accordance with Government Code Section 551.128. And I'm pleased to inform my fellow board members that tonight, based upon the advocacy of Ms. Amanda Bass and Ms. Tina Salem, we are live streaming. And so at this point, the technology that we have in the boardroom, along with the technical training of our audio-visual team, has come together to allow us to live stream. And so thank you to those two board members, as well as the superintendent, for enabling the technology and enabling the training so that we can do the live streaming. And so great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
The main purpose of tonight's meeting is to receive reports from administration and review the business agenda for Tuesday night's regular meeting. That's tomorrow night. Any action regarding items on the business agenda will be taken at Tuesday's meeting, again, tomorrow night's meeting. This is a meeting of the Board of Trustees that is open to the public. We're glad you're here. However, it is not a meeting of the public. Public participation is limited to designated times during the meeting for citizen comment for those that have registered to speak in accordance with board procedures. We ask for your cooperation in ensuring that the meeting runs in an orderly manner. I'll now turn over the meeting to our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Martha Salazar-Zamora, to proceed with recognitions.
Thank you so much to our president, Dr. Pratt, board members, and all of you in the audience this evening with us on St. Patrick's Day. We are glad to have a number of recognitions. We will start with Tomball High School Swim and Dive. Kevin Flanagan, our athletic director, if you'll make your way over, nice and short walk there. I realize you have a number of recognitions of our outstanding athletes. So take it away.
We do. Dr. Pratt, thank you very much. Dr. Zamora, board, cabinet, appreciate you having us here. And we do get to recognize what I think is some of our hardest working athletes in the district. Certainly if you go by time and schedule, what time they get up in the morning, no one gets up earlier and works as long as they do. And they are one of the sports that I would definitely say that I could not do without harming myself, particularly drowning in this case. So with that, if Deanna Sampson would come up, and she is going to tell us about our outstanding swimmers.
Good evening, Dr. Zamora and school board members, and thank you for having us. I actually only have one of my athletes tonight. The other two actually had club practice and could not miss. However, I still want to recognize them. So tonight, we recognize and celebrate the incredible accomplishments of our student athletes, senior Josh Crook, as well as Cole Abril and our sophomore Isabella Muir. Their dedication and talent has led them to remarkable achievements this year, and I could not be more proud. Last year, I'm going to talk about Isabella, who's not here. Last year, she was recognized here as a state finalist for the UIL State Championship. She did not like her results last year, so she pushed herself to the limits. So this year, Isabella broke 2 school records in the 200 freestyle and the 100 freestyle. She placed first at regionals for 200 free and third for 100 free at regionals. She placed, she placed fourth in state for the 200 free and 15th overall in the 100 free. Now this year was the first year in a really long time for Tomball High School that we were able to bring 2 male swimmers, So Joshua Crook and Cole Brill had 4 amazing years at Tomball High. Both were in varsity swim since their freshman year, and every single year they advanced to regionals, barely missing state call-ups. This year, the boys broke 2 school relay records, the 200 medley and the 400 freestyle relay. In addition to breaking the relay record, Cole, who's not here tonight, he broke a 20-year-old school record for the 50 free and 100 free. At regionals, Cole placed 3rd in 100 free and also was called up to state. He finished 15th overall in the most competitive individual event in the 100 freestyle. His commitment to always pushing himself to do better. Cole has committed to College of Holy Cross for next year. Just like Cole, Josh broke his own school record in the 500 freestyle. He placed 3rd at regionals and was called up to state. Josh finished his high school swim season placing 17th overall in the 500 freestyle. Josh has committed to the University of Wisconsin of Milwaukee for swim, and I wish him all the luck next year. All 3 of these amazing athletes show their dedication and sportsmanship to the sport they love. I'm honored to be their coach. Thank you for having me this evening.
Okay. And Josh, thank you for kind of showing everyone how to do this up here. So this one will go a lot smoother. So Coach Kaiser with Tomball Memorial, come on up. She is going to introduce our Tomball Memorial swim team or swimmers. And I will say this: while most of us are just waking up, Coach Kaiser is getting to the pool at 5 a.m. every morning. So some long days. So we appreciate the hard work.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Salazar Zamora and Tomball ISD board members and trustees for recognizing the Tomball Memorial High School state qualifiers this evening. I'd also like to thank Coach Flanagan, Coach Carey, and Katie Keating, all of whom help encourage and guide us each time we make it to the postseason. And a special thank you to Coach Alicia Vetter, who always brings a sense of levity when things get a little too serious. Thank you all for making my job easier. This time I'd like to recognize juniors Tyler Murray and Alexis Messina. This was a special season for the Wildcat Swim and Dive team. For the first time since 2021, we had representation at the state meet from both our girls and boys teams. Our boys team had great success this year, led by state qualifier Tyler Murray. As a team, the boys set 7 new school records, with Tyler claiming 4 of them as an individual and another one as part of our medley relay. Tyler also set a new District 15-6A record in the 200 freestyle. In his first trip to the state championship, Tyler finaled in both of his events, placing 10th in the 200 freestyle and in the 100 butterfly. For our girls, Alexis Messina is no stranger to the UIL state championship. This is her 3rd trip in 3 years. She is a 2024 All-American in the 100 breaststroke, and she now holds 3 individual Tomball Memorial School records. She, too, finaled in both her events, placing 8th in the 200 individual medley and 3rd in the 100 breaststroke, her first state medal. Each year I talk about the dedication of an elite high school swimmer, but this year I'd like to focus on the goal setting of these 2 swimmers. Coming into the season, both had a plan of which school records that they hoped to break. And over the course of our 6-month season, they achieved them. As I said, 4 and 3 records respectively. And they already have in their sights the records that they hope to claim next season. This is no small feat. In order to reach these goals, they practice more than 24 hours a week on average between their school and club swimming practices. And they have approximately 4 weeks the entire year off as they balance between both short and long course seasons. Not only are Tyler and Alexis goal-driven, focused athletes, but they are also top-tier students. Both received academic all-district honors this season. And to prove their dedication to athletics, or to academics, it's the first time ever. On our way to Austin, driving in the car, in the back seat, they are FaceTiming their classmates back at school so that they can make sure they were still contributing to projects and that the project was going to turn out of the quality that they expect. It was the first time I've ever had that happen. And that's just another reason why I'm so proud of these two. With their drive and determination, I'm excited to see what next season holds both for Tyler and Alexis. Congratulations on all your achievements, and thank you again to our Wildcat and Team Tomball supporters. Hello.
All right. Next, and I'm glad Coach Kaiser emphasized the academic requirements. And I think sometimes we miss that. We see the fact that the swimmers go through a full year of swimming, missing 4 weeks of practice, but the academic part's extremely, balancing that is one of the greatest lessons I think you learn in athletics. And so with that, extremely proud of Coach Carey and the Tomball Memorial football team. So Coach Carey, as he comes up, Tomball Memorial, the National Football Federation has implemented an academic award 4 years now. This is the 4th year it's been awarded. Tomball Memorial has never been has never made the finalist in that. And this year, not only were they a finalist, they are also the 6A state champion of the National Football Federation Academic Award.
Good evening, Dr. Salazar Zamora, Board of Trustees and Cabinet. Happy St. Patrick's Day. You all look great in your green. To echo what so many have said before, I just want to thank all of you for your unwavering and continued support of athletics. We're successful because of great kids, great coaches, but none of it is possible without the support of exceptional leadership, and we thank you. We are honored to be chosen as the state champion by Texas by the National Football Foundation for the National Academic Excellence Award. This award is a result of the hard work and dedication of some wonderful young men with the assistance of amazing teachers and faculty at Tomball Memorial High School. Being a student athlete at Tomball Memorial is not an easy task, but these young men took great pride in not only being the best athlete they could be, but also being the best student they could be. Just to note, we had 20 players named to the Texas High School Coaches Association Academic All-State Team, one of which is Will Lancaster here tonight. We had 2 that were named to the Elite Team. We had 48 players named to the Academic All-District Team. So extremely proud of these young men and the hard work that they put in in the classroom. With us this evening, I've got three of our seniors. Travion Green, who will be attending the University of Incarnate Word this fall. Will Lancaster on the end will be attending Texas State University, and Sutton Clark, who will be attending Texas Wesleyan. Trey and Sutton will both be playing football. So thank you very much.
Congratulations again to all of our student athletes. Now we're going to move to the Texas Music Educators Association All-State Musicians. Paulette Tomlinson, our wonderful Director of Fine Arts, is going to begin with the introductions of our fine arts students.
Good evening, President McStravick, Dr. Z, board members, cabinet, and guests. I am honored to recognize several exemplary Tomball ISD fine arts students for their achievements at the state level. With March being Fine Arts Month and the Tomball ISD State of the Arts Report on the agenda for tonight, it is a very special evening for Tomball Fine Arts. I'm thrilled to be joined by many students along with their teachers and families to celebrate their accomplishments. So if our TMEA All-State musicians would please come up. The Texas Music Educators Association sponsors the Texas All-State audition process to promote students' dedication to their musical knowledge and skill and to encourage educators to support their students in this development. Beginning each fall, over 70,000 high school students across the state audition in their TMEA region. The highest-ranking musicians judged at the TMEA area competitions qualify to perform in one of 18 Texas All-State ensembles sponsored by the Band, Orchestra, and Vocal Division, placing them in the top 2% of student musicians in the state. The following students represented Tomball ISD last month in San Antonio as members of the TMEA All-State Ensembles.
Nice.
Alyssa Feng from THS Choir, Ben Prince, THS Choir, Ashley Smith, THS Choir, Bentley Fry, TMHS Band, Catherine Seal, Tomball Memorial Band, and Camille Hanam, Tomball Memorial Band. Catherine and Camille, Tomball Memorial Choir. Please help me congratulate these amazing students.
Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Congratulations. Hi there. Congratulations. Good to see you. Thank you so much.
All right, next I'd like to call up our TAEA Vase State finalists. So if y'all would please come up and join us up here. The Texas Art Education Association Visual Arts Scholastic Event, nicknamed VASE, begins in the first semester at the regional level. Students prepare artworks to be entered into VASE. They are then interviewed, and their artworks are juried by certified TAEA jurors. A rating of 4 is the mark of an exemplary work of art. Student artists who receive a rating of 4 exemplary at the region and area event advance to the state level. An exemplary at the state event will be awarded with a state medallion and will be named an All-State Artist by TAEA and VASE. The artwork created by these students will be featured on the VASE website. They are also eligible for consideration for the highest honor in VASE, the Gold Seal Award. The following students were selected as VASE state finalists and will represent Tomball ISD at the state competition on April 26, 2025. Alexandra Flores from Tomball High, Leah Frost from Tomball High, Nancy Din from Tomball Memorial, Kyrie Flores from Tomball Memorial, Jordan Keth from Tomball Memorial, Victoria Molina from Tomball Memorial, and Paul Wynn from Tomball Memorial. Please help me congratulate these amazing artists.
Keep going.
You guys got medals. You got the hardware.
Congratulations.
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 Congratulations. Congratulations. Good job. Thank you. Love the hat. Thank you. Thank you. Love your purple hat. Yeah, me too.
And last but not least, I'd like to call out my friend Aiden Valenciana Thompson and his teacher, Ms. Stella Cunningham from Tomball High School. For more than 50 years, the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo School Art Program has challenged students and schools to think outside the box to create Western art. The program provides students pre-K through 12th grade the opportunity to compete in district shows, earn scholarships, travel to summer workshops, and display artwork in the Hayloft Gallery during the rodeo. Currently, the school art program supports approximately 130 different school districts, including private and parochial schools in the Houston area. They receive thousands of entries from talented young Texans every year. Aiden Valenciana Thompson of Tomball High School was awarded the gold medal for his sculpture, Two Steps Higher. It is currently on display at the Houston Rodeo in the sculpture case in the NRG Center as soon as you walk into the exhibit hall. Please help me congratulate Aiden, and we're going to give him his medal tonight.
Oh, nice. I love that.
Congratulations. Really proud of you. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all of our fine arts students as well. We continue to be so proud of your accomplishments.
Hey, Dr. Z.
Yes,
I want to
sir.
interrupt for a second. I did not have a chance to acknowledge, but Mr. Lee McLeod is in our presence, and so former board member Lee McLeod, great to see you.
Welcome back. Okay, moving on, we have a few reports tonight. We actually have a total of 4. The first report we have is the 2026-27 instructional calendar. As you know, we are able to live stream. Again, thank you to our board members that have made that possible, working with our team. Also, we are very able to have the presentations. However, there's a power surge, so the screens are not completely visible, and I don't believe this one is as well. Every board member does have we were able to get printouts made for you, so you do have the PowerPoints in front of you. We do have an electrician on the way, but there is some work to be done apparently because of the power surge. So,
Martha, is there any difference between what's already in our board book versus these presentations that were in hard copy?
no, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, good question, though. Okay, Karen Graves.
Hey, good evening, Dr. Pratt, President Pratt, Dr. Salazar Zamora, member of the board and cabinet. I'm here to give you the recommendation from the 2026-2027 calendar committee. And yes, that's correct. That's 2 years from now. And as you recall, we try to approve our calendars a little bit ahead of time. That seems to be what most of our families like, and it's helpful for staff as well, and helps us to plan accordingly. So you've already approved the calendar for 25-26, and now we're looking at 26-27. So this presentation, I'll just kind of move along through my packet here. Thank you. The second slide has the actual members of the calendar committee. So we did have we usually alternate different elementary schools, but we try to get representatives from each area of the district. And then we always have a representative from all of our secondary schools. And then some parents as well. We have a representation from some parents in the community also on the calendar committee. So right now, I would just like to say, if any of you in the audience here was on the calendar committee, please raise your hand so I can thank you personally. Thank you for all the time you spent. We put a lot of thought and consideration into, first of all, if you go to the next slide, what our charge is. And the charge and objective for the calendar committee is to come up with a calendar that is developed to meet the requirements of the state, but most importantly, be instructionally sound. So that actually moves on to the third slide there. But that is our number one priority. We want to make sure that whatever we come up with, we're going to try to factor in a lot of things that we feel like make for a good calendar, but most importantly, we want it to be instructionally sound. So the state requirements that we have to contend with when we are doing when we are making a calendar, and this would be slide 5, I believe. State requirement says that a school district may not begin instruction for students before the fourth Monday in August unless the district operates a year-round system. And we'll talk about that in a minute. The state also requires that the teachers have in their contract a minimum of 187 days. Okay? So we have to look at those things when we are building the calendar. Now, you'll see in a later slide that we have a District of Innovation exemption for when we start school, like most districts in Texas do. It allows us to start a little earlier and balance out our semesters on length. And so we'll get to that in a minute. The 187 days is hard and fast. We have to make sure that no matter what, we have 187 teacher work days. And we don't go over that and we don't go under that. Additionally, on the next slide, slide 6, we have to make sure that students are in school for 75,600 operational minutes. And operational can include time for tutoring, lunches, and recess. And we also are allowed by the state 2,100 minutes of exemption that we can use for staff development, and we do use all 2,100 of those in our calendar. Moving on to slide 7. As mentioned previously, we are a District of Innovation, and that does allow us, according to our innovation plan, we've changed it to that we will not begin students earlier than the second Monday of August, and staff will not begin earlier than the first Monday of August. And that's our returning staff. Sometimes with new staff, the new teachers will come a little bit earlier than that. And so we have utilized that. What that does is it enables us to finish our first semester before Christmas and balance out the length of first and second semester a little bit better. Some of the other considerations by the committee, other than what's legally required, you'll find on slide 8, And we've talked about this in years past, but for some of you who are new to this, we want to make sure this is very important to our staff, and we feel like, again, it's instructionally sound that we provide staff development throughout the school year. Some districts will put a lot of staff development days at the beginning of the school year, or they'll put them at the end. We feel like it's important to do it throughout the year because that gives teachers a chance to collaborate and to look at data and to see the progress of their students when they're planning for the next 9 weeks. We give a PLC day, that's professional learning committees. We let teams meet together so that at the end of every grading period, they have an opportunity to step back and really dig in as a team into what they're seeing in their classrooms. And we just feel like that's very important. We also feel like developing calendars that are similar in length on the semesters. Second semester is usually going to be a little bit longer, and some of that can be, we can utilize that for testing days because there are so many testing days in the spring. But we do want to make sure that we don't take off too much time in the fall so that we don't feel like those fall semester courses were given adequate time so that they can finish up and have exams for the older students before Christmas. No holidays prior to state testing. We don't usually do well in attendance if we have a holiday the day before we're going to test. Provide a day before school starts for teachers to have classroom time. That's become something that's important to teachers. We've heard that from the teachers. They don't want to start on a Monday with students. They want to have that day to kind of regroup and get ready. Finish the instructional year before Memorial Day. This is another thing that our community seems to feel pretty strongly about. It also aligns with traditionally when we have graduation, which is right around Memorial Day. And sometimes you have to plan a few years out for those days. So we traditionally tried to finish up before Memorial Day. We, the last few years, have done like pretty much every other district in Texas, and we've given both Election Day and the day before Election Day off because since we know Election Day is on Tuesday, like other districts, we found out that coming to school on Monday and then having a student holiday on Tuesday pretty much just meant a 4-day weekend for everybody but the teachers. So it made more sense to just use that day a little more realistically. And we did want to include, and we started doing this, this was actually the first calendar year where we built in a little bit longer of a break in October. We do know that there are some districts around us that have a week off in October. We also realize that most do not, and we want to look at why that's important. We know that teachers are tired, students are tired. However, the number one priority, as we said, is we want to be instructionally sound in our calendar. And the committees, every year that I've done this, have felt like that's cutting out too much time in first semester, for one thing, when you give a week long there. And so we've tried to kind of balance that by giving, there's a 5-day break if you look at the weekend and the days off on either side of it. Try to kind of compromise so that families could have a longer break and teachers as well can have some opportunities for a longer break there without interrupting instruction for too long. That was our main priority. The other thinking there is that it's not very equitable to have a full week in October for our staff or students because we are a high participation in extracurriculars district, higher probably than any others around us, and so many students involved in extracurriculars in October that they would not get a break. Even if we were out for a week, they'd be here doing games, practices, band competitions. So really, it's not equitable. Some would get the break and most would not, basically. Okay, so then on slide 9, you'll see our current calendar, 2024-2025. And slide 10 shows next year's calendar, and they're very similar. They're pretty much identical except for adjusting for the dates of the different years. What I want to point out, and it makes it easy, because today is a PLC day, right? We had spring break last week. And so traditionally what we've done with the calendar is we have, as I said, a PLC day for our teachers, a planning day, the day we come back from spring break. It's also the beginning of the last grading period. And so it's a nice time for teachers to come together and plan for the rest of the year.
However, for 2026-27, when we got to looking at the week that we were settling on for spring break, and lots of reasons why we decided on that date, but it does align with Lone Star's recommendation. I just found that out at the end, actually after the calendar committee had met, but we did say that if we find out that Lone Star's doing their spring break at a certain time, we want to try to align with that, and we did. So what we're recommending is aligned with Lone Star. So we want to keep spring break that week, but if you do a PLC day on the Monday like we're doing right now, Good Friday in that particular year is on that Friday. So it would be like this Friday. So that gives you 3 days in the middle. And the fear was, again, if you have a Monday off after spring break and a Friday off after spring break, you got some days in between that we're not quite sure what people are going to do with, and it could be problematic to try to jumpstart instruction again when you've got another day off coming at the end of the week. So the recommendation for the 2026-27 calendar, if you move on to slide 11, you'll notice that the PLC day, the planning day, instead of being on the Monday after spring break, was moved to the Friday before spring break. So the students would still get that extra day, but it would come before spring break, and the teachers would get their planning day before spring break. So the grading period would end on Thursday, students would be out on Friday, teachers would have a planning day, and then we have spring break. And then they come back, and yes, we still have another holiday on the Friday after we get back, but we feel like that would probably work a little better. That's just the way the holidays fall in that particular year. So that was a lot of information with not a lot of visuals up here, so apologize for that. Are there any questions?
One quick question, Karen. In the past, we had, one of the objectives, or at least one of the considerations had been starting in the middle of the week, if at all possible. So I think that's been off of the consideration for a few years now, but do we feel comfortable that that's still the case?
We're starting on Tuesday, so I think that was kind of, again, you kind of compromise sometimes. You want to make sure. The problem is when you move a day, so if we took another day off and we started students a day late, you got to figure out a good place to put that day, because we still have to get that in there somewhere. So it's kind of a balancing act sometimes, and finding what's going to work best and what families are going to like the most. I think most parents seem to be, that I've heard, they're okay with their students starting on Monday. It's the staff that really likes to have at least one day to have that. And remember, teachers are here the week before as well, but something about having, not coming back on a Monday and then all of a sudden, for instance, a high school teacher, you got 160 students, right off the bat after you've had a summer. It's kind of easing into that a little bit.
But we don't find that it's not instructionally sound to start Wednesdays or Thursdays.
Well, I think the idea of starting a little later is that there's a lot of beginning of the year introductory stuff that people think, the week's kind of a wash anyway. But I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that people thought, well, if you start on Wednesday, then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday can be all this introductory stuff, and then you can come back and get down to business the following Monday. But I think our curriculum is pretty tight. I think they get moving pretty quickly. So the Monday is more just kind of, I think, for okay, we had the weekend, but now let's really focus in on what we're doing tomorrow, and let's get going. But I don't think we lose instruction like maybe previously was thought. I think we get moving pretty quickly in our curriculum.
Any other questions from any board members? I definitely want to thank the committee. I know it's a lot of work on top of work. We appreciate it. It's important, and I do love, led by Karen and other facilitators, I think it's important that we do let families know in advance for planning purposes and whatnot. And not all districts have done that I've been a part of, so I appreciate that we continue to do that. So thank you again, Stephen and Karen, for your leadership, and the committee for taking the time that it took to bring this recommendation forward.
Hey, Dr. Z.
Yes, sir.
Not that I'm advocating going to Disneyland or Disney World, but if I were to target October 2025, the 9th, the 10th, and the 13th, that looks like a pretty good day to spend to go to Disneyland, right? Or Disney World, right?
If they are days we do not have school, yes.
Okay, those are days.
Any day we do not have school, Mickey is happy to have you.
Well,
But when we have school, it comes at a cost because our students are missing out on
this is your
incredible
opportunity
instruction.
to voice that.
Thank you.
So
Yes.
feel free to elaborate
So
on
I
that.
understand, the comment was made, and we do look at alternative calendars. And I know that districts have done different things, and I respect, our neighbors and what they've done and perhaps why they've done that. I think it is a little sometimes hard to see a neighbor to the left or the right and think, oh, but they're off to Disney or wherever it might be for a few days. Ultimately, school is held the same number of days for all districts. We know that. And there's a reason for that. You made the comment that our curriculum is tight. And I love hearing that because it is. It's a well-written, well-delivered curriculum. And when you're not there, even for a day, you miss a part of that. And you can get the work, but it's not the same as getting the actual instruction delivered from the teacher. And it does build upon the next and the next and the next. And so I do worry about, I understand tickets might be cheaper at a different time, and Mickey's always calling, but he'll be there in the summer. He'll be there over spring break or any day that we don't have school. I think he's even happier those days, honestly. I know we will be.
I wanted to create an opportunity for you to elaborate on that.
Thank you for that
I'd just like
opportunity.
to make a couple comments. One, this is a hard task, and you guys have a set of tenets that I think make it easier, but it's still hard. Some of the things that I appreciate about the process is that we've added this additional year. Folks have another year to plan.
Right.
And that's fairly recent. We've only instituted that in the last few years. So I think that's a great practice that I hope we continue.
Buy your tickets early.
Yes, right. I like the fact that we're addressing reality of Election Day, and especially in 2026. I hope we can host those in our buildings to go vote. But I like the fact that we're addressing reality because attendance has been down. And it also gives our teachers and staff the opportunity to go vote. And I think that's fantastic. The question that John normally asks, but I will ask, how does the spring break in 2026, 2027 match up to UT or Texas A&M or Texas State? Did you guys look at that?
Did not look at those particular universities.
Okay.
We're mostly concentrating on Lone Star, and that, it's difficult because we plan further ahead than most colleges even, and I was pleased that Lone Star did get feedback. Theirs hasn't even been approved yet, but I was told that was what they were going to propose.
And why are we keying on Lone Star? Is that because of our dual credit
Yes.
and our strong relationship at Tomball Star Academy?
Yes.
Is that the why?
That's the main reason is we have students that are dually enrolled, and some of them actually go to classes on the campus over there, and that's a little harder to navigate. It can be done, and it certainly has been done. Sometimes we can't align with them, and that happens. But it just makes it a smoother transition when we're all on the same break. And most other districts try to align with them as well, so then that also gets us in alignment with other districts.
Sure. The last comment, and I would issue a challenge to you.
Okay.
When we're off, we're off. There are a ton of extracurriculars that are occurring that obligate families over Thanksgiving and obligate families over Christmas and New Year's. The more that we can limit the amount of lockdown that occurs when you have a student, especially a high school student, that's obligated to practices or tournaments or the like. And I would just challenge you to say, if they're not essential, let's make sure families are actually taking the time off. And so that means the students. So big challenge.
Yeah.
I know it's very hard.
It is, but we'll continue to look at that. It is
Yeah.
a concern, but I also understand that, particularly with our student athletes, it is difficult when they have so many number of days, but it is, we do want our families to be able to have true off time.
Yep.
That's important.
Thank you.
Good discussion, good dialogue. Thank you for the
Michael,
questions.
Yeah.
I have a funky mic tonight. I like this calendar as a parent because it ends the semester at Christmas where our kids aren't having to do homework over Christmas break, and it lines collegiately with the collegiate calendar, so our kids are in line on that, where other districts, there's their semester ends after Christmas break, so they're having to do homework, and it's not aligned with the collegiate calendar. So I think academically, this is really good for our high school students.
I agree.
Quick question. If there was any teachers or parents out there that was interested in this process, for, say for next year, how could they go about expressing their interest to be on this committee?
So I usually ask the principals to give me names of interested parents, so if they're interested, they can let their principal know.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have our report is the leadership definition update. And if you recall, we were very fortunate after a process, an application and interview process, we were very fortunate to be selected as a Holsworth district. And we, of course, only became a part of Holsworth through the leadership definition, an 18-month process where we learned a lot about our district and about the future as it came to leadership and created our very own district leadership definition. Dr. Schindewolf and I began the journey, and then not too far after Dr. Webb joined us, it was an enjoyable process to work together, but not just the work that was done there, but the work that we brought back and were able to do with so many. And you've heard about this, and some of you are newer on the board, so I know they're going to take us through where we've been and what we've done and where we are today. So Dr. Schindewolf and Dr. Webb, take it away.
Thank you, President Pratt, Dr. Z, members of the board. We are going to give you an update tonight on our leadership definition, and this definition is specific to Tomball, and that's super important because one of our main priorities in the district is that we not only focus on the success of our students, but the success of our staff. And a key part of that is our leadership, and we know that as we look at what makes a successful leader, specifically for us in the principal seat, that's a very complex place to be. And so the purpose of the leadership definition was really threefold. First of all, we wanted to invest in our leaders so that we could design to build internal leadership capacity. We've always had strong leadership in the district, but we knew, if you look at the bottom of that slide that you have in front of you, we knew that as we looked 5 years down the line when we started at this, that we were going to have 5 new campuses. And through that process and looking at the statistics of history and everything, they map us out that over that 5-year period, we would need 55 new leaders in the district. And when we were told that, we were shocked by that number. And when we say 55 leaders, we're talking about assistant principals and principals over a 5-year time. And Dr. Webb will share the statistics of how close we've gotten to that so far. And you might be surprised, or you might not. But I will say that we were shocked by that number, but we knew that even if we were halfway there, that we needed an intentional focus on building leaders within our system, and that it needed to be specific to Tomball, because what might make a successful principal or assistant principal in another district might not work as well here, because we have a distinct culture and we have distinct needs, and so we want to invest in our people to match those needs. And so the bottom line of the leadership definition is, yes, it's on paper and it was developed and all of that, but it's the action that comes into place and how we work to align all of our action behind that definition so that we can create that pipeline of leaders from maybe the classroom, but we really focus on starting at that assistant principal seat for this project and how we can invest and focus on those leaders so that when we have an available principal opening, we have a bench of ready leaders to step into that seat. And so Dr. Webb will go into a little bit more specifics on what that definition looks like in Tomball.
Thank you. So I'll begin on slide 3. What you'll see there is our leadership definition compass. And again, there is not from an interview. And you'll see on the top of the interview, it is aligned with the core competencies. The first one is communication for collaboration, and this candidate received questions on their ability to show trust and influence, which are two of the competencies within that category. Your next slide is an excerpt from leadership onboarding, to where if you are a new assistant principal to Tomball ISD, or you are an assistant principal new to that seat, your exposure begins on what the leadership definition is. So the leadership definition and the competencies that surround the core compass assess the degree to which a leader is ready to make the turn, to move from a teacher leader to assistant principal, to move from an assistant principal to a principal. It's not an appraisal of that person in their current position. It gives them a vision or a pipeline of what to work towards in order to move to that next spot. So what you'll see on the next slide, slide 5, is an excerpt from our leadership definition assessment. Every year, assistant principals take a leadership definition assessment, and they self-rate themselves on all 16 competencies: trust, clarify, maximize, and strategize, all 16 of them. And then the principal then does an assessment of the assistant principal. Your next slide is a bar graph or a line graph. And every principal and their assistant principal is able to sit down and look at where their scores fell on this leadership definition assessment. It's important to note that our leadership pipeline is not based on a cut point. It's not what you score on this assessment. Scores don't develop leaders, dialogue does. So the talent talk, which is our next step in our leadership pipeline, is the principal and the assistant principal sitting down with one another and looking at how they rated on the 16 competencies. And then the principal, based on the profile of the competencies, developing or delegating different opportunities to help build the skills of that assistant principal. Now, when we were going through this process, we had many different areas of the pipeline to focus on, and we challenged ourselves to focus on one. So specifically what we were looking at was not specifically teacher leaders to assistant principals. We were looking at how can we build a ready bench, like Dr. Schindewolf had mentioned, of our assistant principals to become principals. This final slide that you see on slide 11 then is our data over the last 3 years. So we projected 3 years ago that we would need 17 new principals. That's not necessarily new to Tomball ISD, but new leaders in the principal seat. Over the last 3 years, we have actually had to fill 17 principal seats. Now, this is not just principals that are new to Tomball, but principals that have taken on new schools in Tomball or different schools in Tomball. But what's very important to note, and this judges the effectiveness of our leadership definition, 76.5% of our new leaders today that are in the principal seat came from within Tomball ISD. That was the focus of the leadership definition. So you look down, that includes the new campuses of EEA, West, and also West Intermediate. We still have some movement, some vacancies that will occur because of the addition of 5th and 6th grade at Creekside Park, and then also of West High School. Our vacancy rate is accelerated not from resignations, but for new campuses that we have to build leadership. We have to build our leaders for, counting all internal and external leaders. So the second slide, or the second line that you'll see, is the final line of data. We projected 38 assistant principals. To date, we have needed 36 of them, and over half have come from within Tomball ISD. Are there any questions on the leadership definition process or framework?
Hey, Dr. Z, when we do job fairs or when you do your leadership talks with your team, do you show this data? Do you share this data?
And not at the job fair, but definitely with our team,
Sure.
our leadership team. They are familiar in many ways, the fiber of this leadership definition. As a matter of fact, this morning at 8 a.m., I was talking to Dominate, which of course is leadership opportunities and people that are in the classroom at the campus level that want to become leaders in the future. And this was one of the things, this was a slide that I showed, the leadership definition.
I mean, if I want to be a principal in Tomball ISD, you have a demonstrated path that
It can happen.
for every 3 out of 4 positions come from within.
Right.
Right. Which, if
Absolutely.
you roll the clock back, one of the discussions we had as a board with you was, how do we make sure that we are growing the talent from within? And this data reflects that. And I think it's worthy of advertising it, which is why I asked the question, how can we make sure that those who are interested in becoming principals, assistant principals, campus leaders, what have you, you have a path for them here.
Right, and continue to have that. I think it's a great indicator of preparedness and a plan and working that plan. As a matter of fact, tomorrow we will be interviewing for our next comprehensive high school principal for Tomball West, which will be an internal candidate. I don't know what internal candidate, but it will be an internal candidate.
Right.
So again, that's important. It's working the plan, the process. And again, we are happy tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, yes, it's tomorrow, at North Point Intermediate. We have Holly Searcy coming from another community. She has I'd love to say that she has a child in our district, an adult who works in our district. And so she's coming to be closer to her daughter and her grandchild. So happy to have new people come and join us, but definitely happy to see our own staff be promoted and continue to be promoted. It's important at all levels. I think it's very important.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is, I mean, to me, this is just another step of, again, trying to utilize our own people, whether we're celebrating student to staff, whether we're celebrating homegrown with our paras into full-fledged certified teachers. This is just another example of us taking our own people and helping them develop those skills and traits so that they can go to that next level.
Right. And compete with other internal or external candidates equally.
Right.
And I think it's a beautiful thing when you do have multiple, it's a great problem to have when you have a lot of people that are capable of taking the next step or whatever it is in their career that they want.
And I think it's a good I think it's a good recruitment and retention tool as well, because people they like to come and stay.
Right, definitely. Mr. Lewandowski.
Yeah, I agree. I think that having this program allows us to have continuity as we move forward in the district and to maintain the things that we've developed and have in place. So I think it's a great program.
Yeah, I'm excited that the board supported us through that process. It was a long process, but a lot of good work happened during that and since that time. I appreciate these two staff members and what the work they've put in and continue to, as everyone that's part of Team Tomball is aware of our leadership definition.
And Martha, maybe we didn't drill down on it enough too, but I know Michael mentioned it, and I guess Amy did as well, but this was hours of work of the committee.
Yes.
Which was much broader than central office staff.
Right, teachers and department heads and individuals that wanted to grow within. It's not just you have teacher leaders, you have campus leaders, you have district leaders, department leaders.
So this was everybody giving input into what makes a leader in Tomball ISD, which it reminds me a little bit of the same process that happened with TIA. Right? So you bring everybody in to develop what are those metrics that we're looking at in order to be successful. So I really appreciate everybody's efforts in this.
But it's like anything. Remember, Tomball has become, I think, because the board expects it, but because we're also used to doing it. It's not just become a part of something, create a program, and then put it aside on a shelf and forget about it. It's a living, breathing, continual work item, and that's important, and we are seeing the fruits of that. The electricians are working, in case you hadn't noticed that.
I was going to say, let's address the flickering.
We did pay the bill.
Yeah.
Money's tight, but we did pay the bill. Okay, any additional questions for our duo here? If not, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Right. Our next report, come on up again. Our very own Paulette Tomlinson, Director of Fine Arts, is here to talk about that March is a very special month in her heart. It is TISD State of Arts, and it is, I believe, Fine Arts Appreciation Month,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am. It is.
And you do have a nice PowerPoint in front of you.
I'm very sad that everybody can't see these very cute slides. but
What we
that's-
can do is email it to
Okay, that'd be great.
those that would like it,
Okay.
or everyone.
All right, I need a redemption moment. So good evening, President Pratt, Dr. Z, board members, cabinet, and guests. I am thrilled to be here to talk about Tomball ISD fine arts data tonight and just share a little bit of the impact that our department has on our awesome students here in Tomball. So as Dr. Z said, March 2025, or March every year, is National Fine Arts in Our Schools Month. So we celebrate dance in our schools month, visual art in our schools month, it's called Youth Art Month, theater in our schools month, and music in our schools month. And so we've been, with the help of the communications department, spotlighting our different departments and doing some recognitions of teachers and students and all the wonderful things they did. And that's also why we wanted to do as many student recognitions for fine arts as we could tonight. The next slide is snippets from our Texas School Business article. So I always like to talk about the why fine arts is so important to students and to our teachers. And I think a lot of these quotes in here really sum it up. This was from the Texas School Business magazine article that Allison Suarez wrote about our TASA TASB presentation, which was one of our accomplishments for the year. And I just wanted to use the words of Sadie Warnash, who's a sixth grader at OIS. She said, "I was a little shy at the beginning in front of the high school theater students. They all knew each other, and it took a little while for me to get comfortable around them, but they were very welcoming and gave me tips on how to project my voice and use clearer pronunciation. Their encouragement really helped build my confidence on stage." And those are skills that Sadie, as a sixth grader, can take into her adult life as she, is going to job interviews and just talking to people that she works with. So you can read all the wonderful quotes from our kids there. They're very passionate. Those are from our cast. The next slide is a breakdown of our fine arts offerings in Tomball ISD, and this is the usual, but I did want to point out that we have one new really big offering, which is under music at the high school level. We have a fully functioning mariachi and guitar program at Tomball High School that we're very proud of. And anything with an asterisk allows the students to also get a half PE credit. So they get half fine arts and half PE credit, and that helps them satisfy both of those requirements as they go on to graduation.
I understand our mariachi instructor had a very special moment at the rodeo.
He did. I was so excited. So our mariachi instructor, Miguel Aguirre, he is part of Mariachi del Bosque. They're from Conroe, and they won the Rodeo Mariachi Invitational yesterday. And so they got to play to the, yeah.
Big deal.
Huge deal. And it's so funny because you're sitting there watching the Jumbotron, and you're like, I know that face. I know that face, and it's Miguel. He was amazing, and so if you can find videos of it, they played to a packed audience, and it was just, so we're very lucky to have him. And he would not be in Houston if we didn't hire him here in Tomball. So that was just such a cool moment. I texted him at midnight, and then I realized it was midnight, and I was like, oh, sorry. Anyway, okay, so the next slide is the academic impact of fine arts. And these facts and figures are pulled not just from Tomball, but from school districts like Tomball, of our size and our demographic. And so just some really neat ones. Fine arts students are 2 times more likely to graduate, 20% more likely to attend college, and 42% more likely to attend a 4-year university. They also receive higher test scores, 7% more likely to pass, and students with 4 years of fine arts score an average of plus 58 on the verbal and plus 38 on math on the SAT. And then I think the thing that we all love the most about it is the attendance, because attendance is dollars, right? So our fine arts students have 2% higher average daily attendance. That equates to 3 additional days per year and 10 additional days over the course of their high school career. And those numbers are even higher for our fine arts students who are ELL or ECODIS. The next slide is a big bragging point. The class of 2025 students who have 3 fine arts credits or more right now is a 95.35. Thank you to Mark for helping me pull that data, my hero every year. And then in comparison, anybody who had 2 or less fine arts credits at this point in senior year has a 91.05. You can see the subgroup GPAs too down at the bottom corner. ECODIS is 90.22, special ed is 86.64, and our emergent bilingual students are 90.88. On the postcard, see, the slides are very cute. You're missing out, everyone. The postcard on the side, those are our top 20 classes of the current senior class. If they say yes next to them, they are a fine arts kid with 3 or more credits going into their senior year. So as you can see, we've got about half of the top 20s in fine arts.
Yeah. 7 and 9. I just did the math. That's
Yeah.
impressive. I don't know if I've ever seen that done that way.
Yeah, we
I
did
like
it last
that.
year, and it wasn't quite as, there weren't quite as many, and so it's actually an improvement from last year. So I was excited to see that.
Okay, so let's make sure I understand that. So what you're saying is, at Tomball High School, the top 20 students, seniors?
Seniors, top 20
7
seniors.
of them are in fine arts in some way, shape, or form.
Have had 3 full years of
3
fine
full
arts
years?
or more, yeah.
Okay, and then at
Credits.
Tomball Memorial, your top 20 has, what'd you say, 9, 10?
9.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yep.
great, thank
And then,
you.
because every student has to have a fine arts credit to graduate, and so Mark pulled out kids with 3 or more credits.
Right, thank you.
So kids that have been in the programs for an amount of time. Slide 7 is some numbers, because we love numbers. We have 7,922 secondary fine arts students. Those are kids who have elected to stay in fine arts in Tomball ISD. 9,403 elementary students are getting all those awesome impact benefits. The arts revenue in 2024 in the state of Texas was $6 billion. So those are people in the creative sector. We're talking fashion designers, photographers, architects, anything that is creative. The arts revenue, there are 845,000 Texas jobs in the creative sector. So when our students leave, about 1 in 15 jobs is something that they can do creatively. And then the average salary in the greater Houston area creative sector is $93,561. So fine arts is pretty great. All right, slide 8 are our accomplishments for this year. I've already mentioned our TASA TASB program, which was just the crowning achievement of months of hard work, and so we're very proud to represent Tomball ISD on that huge stage of public education. But also, as you saw tonight, we had 6 TMEA All-Staters, those are the kids that are in the top 2% of musicians across the state. We had 10 entries into the state VASE competition, which is the visual art. So we have 6 students, but 10 of them, or 10 entries. So that means 4 of those students actually have 2 entries that qualified for state. We were also awarded the 2025 Best Communities for Music Education Award, and we're on track to win it again this year. We also won the District of Distinction Award through the Texas Art Education Association, and again, on track to win it this year. Our mariachi program is alive and well and moving and getting fitted for their traje, and so we hope to have them uniformed by the time we have their spring concert in May. And finally, our Tomball Memorial High School marching band went to the state championships for UIL marching. I would like to invite everyone in the room to our Fine Arts Festival on April 26, 2025. It will be new this year at Tomball Memorial High School. Whoa, different. It's going to be really fun. It is Greetings from Fine Arts Festival. It's going to be really fun. So please put it on your calendar. It will be from 9 to 2. And finally, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for me? Awesome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good job. Even amidst the strobe lights. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Okay, so moving on, the last item that we have is not it is a report. It's actually a finding. District-wide intruder detection audit report finding, and Dr. Stephen Gutierrez will share some information, and then, of course, we will discuss this more a little bit later on tonight.
All right. Good evening, President Dr. Pratt, Dr. Salazar-Zamora, members of the board, and guests. The Texas Education Agency conducted an intruder detection audit pursuant to legal requirements. 2 schools were reviewed in February, and a finding was identified at one of the 2 campuses. All corrective actions have been completed at this time. Further details have been provided and will be discussed with the board in executive session for the purposes of safety and security. Thank you.
Thank you.